What ancient myths explain constellation names? Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing patterns that seem to tell stories. Long ago, people looked at those star patterns and created stories to explain what they saw. These stories are called myths, and they help us understand how ancient cultures connected their beliefs to the stars. Many of the constellation names we use today come from these old stories, especially from Greek and Babylonian traditions. For example, the constellation Orion is named after a mighty Greek hunter. According to the myth, Orion was a giant who loved to hunt and was so skilled that he could hunt anything. The stars form a pattern that looks like a man with a bow, which is why we call it Orion. In ancient Egypt, the stars of Orion's belt were linked to the god Osiris, who represented the afterlife and rebirth. These stories gave meaning to the stars and helped people remember important lessons about strength and life. Another well-known group of stars is called the Pleiades, often called the Seven Sisters. In Greek myth, they were the daughters of the Titan Atlas, who held up the sky. The cluster of stars in the sky looks like a tiny group of bright points, and many cultures saw them as sisters or important figures. Some cultures, like Indian and South American groups, saw these stars as different characters or used their appearance as a way to tell time for planting crops or planning journeys. The stories made the stars more than just points of light. They became part of their history and daily life. Pegasus, the winged horse from Greek stories, is another example. The constellation shows a shape that looks like a horse with wings, and it was said to have been born from the blood of Medusa after her head was cut off. Pegasus was linked to divine power and was said to help gods like Zeus in battles. These stories made the stars symbols of strength and heroism, inspiring people for generations. Boots, the herdsman, is a constellation connected to a figure who invented the plow. This story symbolized farming and the importance of agriculture. Nearby constellations like Ursa Major and Ursa Minor representing the great and small bears, which were seen as herds or animals that the herdsman watched over. These myths helped ancient farmers and travelers use the stars to know when to plant or sail. Virgo, often shown as a maiden, is linked to goddesses of fertility and harvest. The story behind Virgo is about growth, abundance, and the cycle of seasons. Many cultures saw this constellation as a symbol of women, harvest, or new beginnings, making it a key part of their stories and calendars. These myths were more than stories. They were practical tools for ancient people. For example, the rising of the Pleiades in spring told farmers it was time to plant crops. The position of Orion helped sailors navigate at sea. These stories connected the stars to everyday life, making them easier to remember and use. From a political point of view, understanding these myths shows how early societies shared ideas and created cultural bonds. Leaders and storytellers used these stories to teach values, pass down traditions, and organize their communities. Recognizing the origins of constellation names helps us see how humans have always looked to the sky to find meaning and order. In the world of observational astronomy and stargazing, knowing the mythological roots of constellation names makes the night sky more interesting. It turns a simple pattern of stars into a story from the past, connecting science with culture. When you learn these stories, the stars become more than just points of light. They become a way to understand human history and the stories that shaped civilizations. So, next time you look up at the night sky, think about the stories those stars might be telling, and enjoy the rich history behind each constellation name.